Okay. What goal do we achieve with whatever coverage? This is, I would argue, the most important question to ask your lead during the sales call for 5 reasons. The first reason is, what goal do we achieve with X coverage? So this question is asking us to frame our situation, our scenario, past already deciding to buy. This is life after buy, after deciding to buy. So we're considering, how we feel and what our reality is then at that point, us and the lead, right? The second reason that it's important is because there's a we here. So if you haven't installed a we, go ahead and install it at this point. And we is, we define we as you plus me. You plus me equals we, right? You plus me is lead plus agent, or hero plus guide, right? Because in the hero's journey, the hero embarks on a journey where they come across a guide in order to successfully accomplish attaining a goal. In the same way, a lead comes across you, the agent, to successfully attain coverage, right? And let's define some terms. A hero, by definition, is someone who uses good, brave, responsible, and powerful decision making. They are powerful, they're responsible, they're brave, and they're good inside of their decision making. A guide is experienced. They've done this before. They've been on the journey before. They've been on a sales call before. They're focused primarily on the goal, right? So whenever there's any distraction during the process of the journey, that is the sales call, the guide is the one who maintains the focus on the North Star, which is attaining coverage in this particular situation. But in general, in the hero's journey, it's getting to the goal. And then the guide also equips everyone with the rules and the tools for success, for successfully reaching the goal. And then most importantly, the guide reminds the hero of their role in the goal. Of course, the role being powerful, responsible, brave, and good within their decision making with regards to this journey, which in this case is a sales call about attaining coverage, whatever type of coverage it is. And then also the goal. And of course, the goal is X coverage, whatever coverage we're selling. That is the goal. Now, what goal do we, sorry, I didn't circle the we. What goal do we achieve with X coverage pushes the question past the goal. Because what goal we achieve when we've already gotten the goal is the higher goal, or the goal of the goal, right? So what higher goal do we achieve once we got the original goal? So again, once we have considered or put ourselves, reframe the question or reframe the situation that we're in to talk about life after deciding to buy, how do we feel about our life after we've decided to buy? What does that entail? Let's think about that. Let's explore that. That's basically what this question is doing. And essentially what you're going to come to from your lead now turned hero, we'll talk about how to anchor the hero, how to anchor the lead in their hero state for their decision making. But the hero and the guide come across a goal, and then the goal of the goal is really just peace of mind, essentially. essentially. What you'll get, though, what you'll hear is basically something like, we now have protection, right? We now have a plan, which means we're now prepared, right? So to be prepared with a plan to protect yourself and your loved ones, that is essentially coverage. So getting coverage delivers peace of mind, essentially, which is what you will get by having gotten coverage. And then let's talk more about how the hero journey mirrors the sales framework, in which the lead and the agent come together to attain coverage, which is the we. This framework is essentially structured in a particular way so that you are able to measure and iterate how well you're doing. But the essential structure of a sales framework is your introduction, and then from there you do some information gathering. And then after the information gathering, you're able to identify the pain point. Once you identify the pain point, you're able to produce a solution, basically. From there, after the solution is proposed, then you'll go through a cost-benefit analysis. The cost versus the benefit of acquiring the solution to the pain point, which you acquire from the information gathering after the intro. After that, then it's just the decision to buy, right? Every sale is essentially the same, pretty much. At least in the sense that it's a hero's journey where somebody will need a product or service, won't know how to get it or how to attain it, will come across somebody who provides that product or service, who helps them solve the problem that they have by not having that product or service yet, by deciding to buy that product or service, right? It's essentially the same thing. For this structure, let's break down this pathway a little bit. In the introduction is where you, the agent, establish that you are in fact the guide. In the introduction, you establish that you're experienced, you've done this before, that you're focused for yourself and the lead on the goal. You provide the rules and the tools, which is essentially going to be coverage, which we'll talk about. And then chiefly, you remind your hero of their role, which is to be powerful, responsible, brave, and good in the decision-making with respect to purchasing X coverage, whichever coverage it is, and then the goal, which is X coverage. And honestly, it's also peace of mind, okay? Then in the information gathering stage is where you both verify the lead information you already have, and then you qualify them. So if this is an RSH lead, this will probably be at the point where you're actually talking to the lead about their information. It'll probably be like the third time because that they're hearing about it and verifying it. So it should be foolproof, right? The first time is when they enter in the information, and then they go through the one-time passcode, the authentication that they put in their information and would like to be contacted. Then they're contacted by one of our AI calling that calls them, verifies the information, and then books them or transfers them. And then they get to you, the agent, who will likely do this again, but even if you don't, it's already been twice done, okay? So in the information gathering, there are two sets of types of questions. There's the one where you qualify and verify. This is, the demo information, demographic information, where primarily, all the information is important, but you want to get that beneficiary information. Why? Well, because your beneficiary is the who component to your pain point. Or you're identifying your pain point, to be fair. Then the next part is the context information, context info. And that's broken into two parts. Context is just basically, trying to understand the context of the situation that our lead is in so that we can better identify which parts or aspects or types of coverage will help them solve their pain point. So the first question is just a general one. What's going on? It doesn't need to be exact, but you want to keep it as general as possible because you want to keep it open-ended so that your lead talks and they give you the information you need so that you can listen, repeat, and commend your lead for the hero traits that they display right now already. And you want to do that because we then anchor our lead in their hero state decision making, which is great because we need them to be in this state for the rest of the journey that is the sales call, that is the framework. Okay? So you want to ask what's going on, listen, repeat, commend, and anchor our lead in their hero state decision making. If you're talking to a lead about coverage, then much more than likely they have assets and they have a beneficiary or beneficiaries. Those are the two things you need to need coverage. If you have an asset or beneficiaries, you are already doing things that a hero does. There's already aspects of your life and your decision making that are powerful, that are responsible, brave, and that are good. We just want to channel those so that we're thinking from that frame of mind when we go through the rest, so that the rest of the decisions you make during this call are not weak, irresponsible, cowardly, or bad. Because that wouldn't be good. They need to be good, brave, responsible. Good, brave, responsible, and powerful. Okay? And it is our job as the guide to remind them of their role. You see how it's coming together? Okay. The next question is the main question, is this question. Right? The next question is, what goal do we achieve with coverage? Like we said before, you're going to hear something about how we now have protection, we now have a plan, and we are now preparedness, right? All those things amount to peace of mind, which is really the highest state that a hero can expect, honestly, to ever be in, right? All heroes want peace. Peace comes through doing things that are powerful, responsible, brave, and good. So getting on the other side of decisions that require these aspects of a hero is where they find peace. Does that make sense? Okay. So also, between these two questions, you will get your why. Okay? So now you have your who and your why. You can identify the pain point. From there, you're now allowed to get to the solution, which is going to be coverage. Of course, going to be X coverage, whichever coverage it is. But, at this point, you're able to educate specific to the benefits of coverage that have to do with speaking to the pain points that our hero, because they think powerfully, responsibly, bravely, and with good intention for the greater good. Our hero now is we've identified our hero's issue, and so we can educate on the coverage specific to the benefits for our hero. So education on benefits of coverage. Also, answering questions, Q&A, also going over cost, which will bring us to the cost versus benefit analysis, right? Here, essentially what we're doing is going over any perceived cost and making sure that our hero understands that the benefits of coverage far outweigh cost A, B, C, or D, right? Whatever the cost is that they think is going to stop them or inhibit them from making the most powerful, responsible, brave, and good decision. Because the truth is, there's no costs that the hero hasn't already paid that they shouldn't recognize in order to attain the peace of mind they need from being protected, themselves and their family being protected, having a plan, and being prepared for the unforeseen, which again is coverage. So, benefits of coverage plus peace of mind. We want to make sure that these far outweigh any costs to the point where the cost is negligible, where it's a no-brainer. And then once we do that, make it much easier to make the decision to buy, right? Like I say, or like I like to say, you make not buying so unreasonable that the only reasonable thing to do is to buy. Okay. Now, a bit of review. Why is this question so important? What goal, really what higher goal, do we achieve with X coverage? It's important because this already pushes us past, let me put it in this color. Let's go with orange. This pushes us past the decision to buy. We're already framing it such that we're discussing life after purchasing coverage, right? Also, it's important to highlight that any decision that we're going to make on this journey that is this sales call is going to be between you and me, between lead and agent, between hero and guide. So wherever we can, we always denote the we, right? And of course, the third reason, remember, we move our focus to the higher goal, the goal of the goal, which is peace of mind, because we are prepared with a plan to protect our family and ourselves. Which is the fourth reason why this question is so important. And then the fifth reason why is because we make the decision after we've anchored our lead in the hero state. And from then on, quite honestly, before we even talk about coverage, we have to make sure that we're in the correct state to make the decisions that are most powerful, responsible, brave, and good for ourselves and our family. So that's why this question is so important. Why? What higher goal do we achieve with the coverage?